Since this bill passed?
Not since it passed.
You prefer the bill? Welcome to an all-new edition of Viral. I'm your host, always, Kid Biggs, here on Viral. Glad you're here watching Viral this week as the battle lines have been drawn as southern states like Alabama, Georgia, and most recently up north, Midwest, Missouri, have signed anti-abortion bills that affects a woman's right to choose. Well, we'll get to it, but first thing first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Viral here on Connect. Glad you're here. Let's get started. States are signing anti-abortion bills to prevent anti-abortion laws. Let's look at the latest from Georgia, where its governor, Brian Kemp, did this.
Georgia has now outlawed most abortions in that state. Republican Governor Brian Kemp signed the new law criminalizing abortion once a doctor can detect a fetal heartbeat as early as 6 weeks. It's now the sixth state to do so. Legal challenges are expected. Supporters of the law hope the challenge will go to the Supreme Court, where Roe v. Wade could face a challenge.
And you saw right there, Governor Brian Kemp signed and declared the bill into law, the anti-abortion bill, where he declared that Georgia will hold all doctors accountable for giving life and, for a woman's right to keep their baby regardless of the situations, regardless if they've been raped or sodomized or incest. He's saying you got to keep your baby, but then some people are saying this is a ploy for the white human race to preserve future generations to go, because they believe that the minority is coming along and they're going to take over from the Latinos and the blacks, taking over and being the most dominant race ever within the next generations to come. Well, meanwhile, while protesters in Georgia was angry and spoke out with this.
Shame, 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 shame.
Wow, you see that rally cry out there from protesters in Georgia? Well, his actress Alyssa Milano of Charm fame and Who's the Boss, and other celebrities voiced their opinion to end the bill. Let's watch Alyssa Milano's clip.
Here's the deal. These bills make sex and getting pregnant extremely dangerous for women. Mm-hmm. So at some point, we have to really consider what it means for sexuality. We don't just need men for pleasure. Sorry. I don't think there's a human on the planet that is not pro-life. Nobody wants to get an abortion. Nobody. We are all pro-life. But there are circumstances that we cannot avoid. There's the mother's health. There's just not being ready, and what that means financially and for someone's destiny. This is an economic issue.
All right, you saw that Alyssa Milano spoken to Chris Cuomo about the Georgia anti-law bill about a set strike. And we'll see how far that goes, but here's what other celebrities that you might see voice their opinions.
This bill is known as the heartbeat bill. It would ban abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy or around the time a fetal heartbeat can be detected. Actress Alyssa Milano, who's filming in Atlanta, wrote a letter to Georgia's governor and House Speaker and says Hollywood productions have poured billions into Georgia's economy over the past decade. Dozens of celebs signed that letter in support, including Alec Baldwin, Amy Schumer, Gabrielle Union. One actress who's from Georgia is pushing back against this, Ashley Bratcher. She says in Georgia, quote, "We don't believe in putting a price tag on the value of a human life." She stars in a movie called Unplanned about a former Planned Parenthood clinic director who becomes an anti-abortion activist.
We thought Georgia was the only state that was trying to do this thing. But other states like Alabama and Missouri followed, and watch where Alabama Governor Kay Adams had to say.
The abortion bill, do you plan to sign it?
We've not received the bill yet. We expect to receive it sometime later today after the legislature goes into session.
Where do you stand on abortion as a whole?
I'll certainly review the bill when it comes across my desk. We'll review it thoroughly, the legal department, etc., and then I'll make a final decision.
Do you have a time frame on when you will likely decide?
Well, I first got to get the bill,
okay,
and that'll be later today after the legislature convenes, and then we will review it, and after we've reviewed it thoroughly, we'll make an announcement.
And have you talked to the sponsor of this bill, Terry Collins, at all since this bill passed?
Not since it passed.
Would you prefer a bill that has exemptions for rape and incest?
All human life is precious.
Which way are you leaning? Where does your heart tell you?
That's speculation, and we got to see the bill and review it thoroughly, and we'd be glad to do that.
Governor, any concern about the legal fees that could potentially come on with this bill?
You certainly cannot deter your efforts to protect the unborn because of costs, even if it means going to the United States Supreme Court.
You saw right there, I remember Governor Kay Adams said that. But here's protests on deck. Watch that. You saw right there, the more protesters spoke loud and clear to the state capitol in Alabama and Montgomery, sent a clear, concise message to Governor Ivory to stop and reverse the bill because this don't make any sense. It don't, but it doesn't make any sense. But people, believe it's a woman's right to choose. So this really is. All right. And then in there as here are two women who are pro-choice on the opinion of this bill. Watch this.
This is a terrifying time for women in this country. Yesterday, 25 all-male, all-white politicians just voted to ban abortions altogether in the state of Alabama. No exception for rape and incest, putting doctors in jail for 99 years for providing life-saving, life-transforming care to our patients. Make no mistake that this is a coordinated attack on women's health and rights. 16 states this year have introduced legislation to ban abortions as early as 6 weeks. Everything is on the line. This is about our health, our rights, and our futures. And women in this country are paying attention. We are outraged. We will be holding those accountable who are trying to take away our health and our rights for our children and for generations to come.
Why you all want to control our bodies, I will never, ever know.
We should not be deprived of life, liberty, and property. So life is the question. When does a life become a life?
The issue that Roe versus Wade was decided on, which is that baby in the womb a person. In Alabama law, it's a person. Our people in Alabama voted last fall. We believe that, and we believe that's what it's aimed at.
Amendment to House Bill 314 by Senator Singleton. On page 8, line 10, after mother, insert the following, or that rape or incest occurred. On page 8, line 18, after 2, insert the following.
Heck no! Hey, he didn't even make a motion. He did not make a motion.
He made a motion to table.
How was the motion made?
The motion.
No motion was made. You just
excuse me.
I apologize to the women of Alabama for this archaic law that we passed, for putting them through this process of having to fall under a state that will allow them to be raped, and the fact that they had to carry that child through for 9 months.
We hope the bill will go through the courts and be reviewed by the U.S. Supreme Court to test the basis of the Roe versus Wade decision that unborn children are not persons within the meaning of the U.S. Constitution.
Abortion will, in effect, be banned across the United States.
Yes, that's correct. Abortion.
The women of the bill believe that it's women's right to choose, and it's just about women's right to choose. That didn't end there as Missouri signed the bill into law. Watch this.
Missouri will soon join the ranks of other states to have one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country, banning all abortion after the 8th week of pregnancy.
I will sign the bill as it presented to me.
Missouri Governor Mike Parson vowing to sign an 8-week abortion bill into law, but he didn't give a clear answer as to why he supports no exceptions for rape or incest.
We're going to sign the bill as is. I've answered that a couple of times now. I'm going to sign the bill as it is. Because it's a piece of legislation that the legislators voted on. I believe in the pro-life side of the issue, and I'm going to sign the bill.
Earlier in the day, emotions filled the House floor.
I am a woman. It is my body. It is my choice. We are a pro-life state, and we are here to prove it.
Protesters multiple times interrupted the debate, eventually being removed from the House chamber. We talked to some of them who drove hours to attend.
I think it's trash. I think that it takes away bodily autonomy.
Clay County Republican Doug Ritchie says he voted for this bill because it will save lives. In 2017, state records show more than 3,700 women got an abortion at 9 weeks of pregnancy. This bill would make it illegal at 8.
My vote was looking at the fact that I believe this bill, by itself, if nothing ever happens with Roe v. Wade, saves lives.
Meanwhile, Democrats say this will force women to bring children into a system they say doesn't support them.
We don't have any resources in Missouri, but we're supposed to be pro-life. I think this bill is just another of the state bills that have gone on this year to try to test Roe v. Wade. And I'm okay with that. Just be honest about what you're for. Don't tell me you're for pro-life and you're not.
Again, Governor Parson has said multiple times that he will sign the bill. The date of that signing is yet to be determined. Reporting from Jefferson City, Stephen Dial, 41 Action News.
Governor says he will sign the state's new abortion bill, now sitting on his desk. The legislation will ban abortions after 8 weeks. There are exceptions for medical emergencies, but not for pregnancies that result from rape or incest.
All right, you saw the news report. Missouri entered that bill into law. It's very controversial indeed that it's a taboo situation where people, lawmakers are making choices for women to say, hey, we make the rules over here, and you have to follow by our rules and adhere to them. And women don't have no say-so at the moment. And they hold them accountable to the doctors and charge them for murder because of a human fetus, a human heartbeat deal. So it's a lot going on and stuff, but we will continue on with coverage on this report as it delays the development, because this is a Roe versus Wade situation. Is this the new Roe versus Wade in 2019? Because it's kind of gets in that point that when Roe versus Wade, where the woman down the road in the 70s, went to the Supreme Court, challenged the Supreme Court, and they told the woman she had a right to choose to terminate her abortion, and that's what had happened. It got overturned and it's now constitutional. It's unconstitutional to say that. Well, leave your opinions here, leave comments, what you think about it. We'll be watching and seeing what's next. Thank you all for watching this edition of I've been your host, Kendrick Dick, saying so long. We'll see you next time here on Bye.